The chamber of the Galactic Council was vast and bright, filled with strange shapes and flickering lights. Creatures from hundreds of worlds filled the seats, each one watching the two humans standing alone in the center platform. Commander Susan Brooks stood straight, her hands gripping the metal rail in front of her. The air was cold, heavy with judgment. Above her head, a giant hollow screen glowed red. One by one, symbols of alien species appeared and flashed the same color: guilty. The crystal beings from Vega voted first. Their bodies shimmered like glass as the red light pulsed. The insect-like Zaprins followed, their sharp arms crossing in the motion for guilt. Then came the scaled Aquarians, the gas-shaped Jovians, the gentle plant folk of Verdara, all the same. Every single vote glowed red. Lieutenant Paul Harrison, standing beside her, clenched his fists. He was young, fiery, and not built for silence. "This isn't fair," he whispered. "They're sentencing us to die. What crime did we commit? Building ships? Dreaming too big?" Susan did not answer. Her eyes stayed on the screen. More red lights. More guilt. When the last vote appeared, the chamber lights dimmed. The center of the room glowed as the council speaker floated forward. A vast being of light and energy, shaped like an octopus made of stars. Its voice rang through the hall like wind chimes caught in a storm. "The voting is complete," it said. "All 212 member species have spoken. Humanity of Earth, you stand accused of reckless expansion, uncontrolled technology, and disturbing the balance of our galaxy. The verdict is unanimous: guilty on all charges." A deep silence filled the chamber. Thousands of alien eyes focused on the humans. Some looked satisfied, others cautious, but all were relieved. The speaker's voice continued, calm and absolute. "The sentence is exile. Earth and all human colonies must withdraw from galactic space. You have one standard cycle to comply. 6 of your Earth months. After that time, any humans found in Council territory will be arrested." Paul's voice trembled with anger. "You can't be serious. Earth can't feed everyone anymore. We need our colonies, our trade routes." Susan placed a firm hand on his arm. "Quiet, Lieutenant." He glared at her. "They're condemning billions of people." "Not yet," she said softly. "Let them finish." The speaker's luminous tentacles waved slowly. "During the evacuation, your fleets will be monitored. Any sign of aggression will be met with immediate force. Once complete, the jump gates to Earth will be sealed. This exile is permanent." The last word echoed through the hall. Permanent. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then Susan lifted her chin and stepped forward. Her voice was calm, even polite. "Thank you for clarifying the terms," she said. "The people of Earth accept the Council's decision. We will begin preparations immediately." The chamber erupted in uneasy whispers. The Altarian ambassador, a tall being made of blue crystal, leaned forward. "You accept?" Without protest. Susan turned toward the gallery. Through millions of screens, every human colony and ship across the stars watched her. Families on Mars, miners on Titan, farmers under alien suns, all waited to hear her words. "Of course we accept," Susan said. Her expression was professional, her tone almost kind. "You've made your position clear. Humanity is not welcome here. We understand completely." Paul stared at her in disbelief, but Susan did not look at him. She turned back to the speaker. "We'll need the official evacuation orders for our colonies. I assume you already have a list." The speaker hesitated, the lights around it flickering slightly. "Yes, of course. But, Commander Brooks." "Then we have work to do," she interrupted. 6 months is not much time. Without another word, Susan turned and walked toward the exit. Paul followed, still boiling with anger. The huge doors closed behind them with a deep metallic echo. Inside the chamber, the silence lingered. The aliens shifted in their seats. Scales rustled. Tentacles twitched. None of them had expected this calm acceptance. The humans were known for emotion, for passion, for defiance, but not this. The Altarian ambassador leaned closer to the speaker. Why did she smile? The speaker's lights dimmed. "I do not know," it said quietly, "but I felt fear." In the long corridor outside, Susan finally stopped walking. The echo of alien voices faded behind her. Paul spoke first. "Commander, why did you agree to this? We can't survive alone. Earth can't." Susan turned her gaze toward him, her eyes cold and sharp. "Lieutenant," she said, "you're looking at it the wrong way." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "They think they've exiled us," Susan whispered. "But they've just given us permission." Paul blinked. "Permission? For what?" A small smile crossed her face, steady, calm, unshakable. To become everything they fear we already are. She walked toward the docking bay, her boots echoing against the metal floor. Through the windows, the blue curve of Earth shone far below, fragile and bright among the stars. Behind her, the young lieutenant felt a chill crawl down his spine. For the first time he realized his commander was not afraid. Far away inside the council chamber, uneasy murmurs filled the air. "Why did they smile?" one alien whispered again. No one answered. But every being in that room felt it, the same cold truth pressing against their hearts. Humanity had accepted exile. And somehow that was far more dangerous than defiance. The stars above Earth looked calm, distant, and uncaring. But below, the planet was burning with motion. Only 3 days had passed since the Galactic Council's verdict, and humanity had already begun to move. In orbit, the space stations buzzed with activity. Cargo ships, transports, and mining vessels were being recalled. Fleets were reorganized. Colonies from Mars, Titan, and Europa were sending encrypted messages back home. From the outside it looked like chaos. But inside the chaos was purpose. Commander Susan Brooks stood at the observation deck of Orbital Command Station Sol 1, Earth's largest military hub. She watched as thousands of ships moved through space, like fireflies caught in a storm of light. Lieutenant Paul Harrison entered quietly. He looked tired, eyes sunken from sleepless nights. "Ma'am," he said, handing her a data tablet. "Status report. We've begun evacuations from the outer colonies. Civilian ships are moving back towards Sol." Susan nodded, not looking away from the window. "Good. Keep it quiet. No open broadcasts." Paul frowned. "But the council said they'd monitor our movements. They're already watching. Why hide?" Susan finally turned toward him, her eyes steady. "Because we're not evacuating, Lieutenant. We're repositioning." Paul froze. "Repositioning?" "Yes," she said softly. "Every ship that returns will be refitted, every satellite repurposed. We don't need to escape. We need to prepare." Paul hesitated. "For war?" Susan didn't answer directly. "For survival. They think they've contained us. They think 6 months will break us. But tell me, Paul, when has humanity ever gone quietly?" Paul couldn't reply. The question hung heavy between them. Across the system, humanity moved in silence. On Mars, engineers stripped down old colony ships, melting metal to build new frames. The great shipyards of Phobos Station came alive again after decades of quiet. On Luna, the gray surface glowed with light as factories worked day and night. Massive engines were assembled under domes of reinforced glass. On Titan, miners dug deep into the orange ice, pulling rare metals and antimatter cores once forbidden by the Council's laws. No speeches. No protests. No cries of rebellion. Just work. Relentless, silent, focused work. In the Galactic Council's central hub, many light years away, the alien ambassadors watched human transmissions with confusion. "They are obeying," said the crystalline Alterian ambassador. "Their colonies are shutting down. Their fleets are returning home. Perhaps they finally understand their limits." The council speaker flickered with quiet satisfaction. "Then the galaxy will know peace again. Without human interference." But one voice, small, nervous, belonging to a Varan observer, broke the calm. "Peace? Or silence before the storm? Their movements are too organized." "Paranoia," another alien hissed. "Humans are emotional, not strategic." The speaker nodded. "Let them return to their homeworld. They'll destroy themselves without our help." But deep inside, the speaker remembered Susan Brooks' last words. "They've just given us permission." And for the first time, the ancient being of light wondered what she had meant. Weeks passed. Earth's orbit was now a hive of light and motion. Giant ships hung above the blue planet like silent guardians. But something strange began to happen. Entire fleets, civilian and military, started to disappear. One by one, they left orbit without announcing destinations. No signals. No coordinates. They just vanished into the dark. When alien monitoring stations tried to track them, they found nothing. No energy signatures. No trails. It was as if the ships had been swallowed by the void itself. Back on Sol 1, Paul stormed into Susan's command room. "Another fleet gone dark, Commander. The Horizon, the Odyssey, 22 cargo vessels. Where are they going?" "You're sending them out, aren't you?" Susan looked up from her desk, calm as always. "Yes." "To where?" "Beyond the edge." Paul blinked. "Beyond the galactic border? That's suicide. There's nothing out there, No gates, no stations, no. Susan interrupted quietly. Exactly. No eyes. Paul took a step closer. Commander, you're keeping secrets from the council. They'll see this as aggression. Susan finally looked at him, voice low and certain. The council already decided we're guilty. The only thing left to decide is what we'll become. At that same moment, in the black void beyond Pluto's orbit, humanity's true project began. A hidden construction zone floated in silence, lit only by dim work lights. Thousands of drones and automated ships moved around something vast. A structure larger than any known space station. At its center, a ring of dark metal spun slowly, covered in glowing blue patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. It was called Project Genesis, a new kind of jump gate. A gate that didn't connect worlds, but created them. Scientists from every human colony worked under extreme secrecy. No communication left the zone. No signals escaped. Even the light was bent around the project to hide it from sensors. Humanity was no longer building ships. They were building freedom. Back in the council's chamber, the tension grew. Reports came in of missing human ships, vanishing fleets, and silent transmissions. They're hiding something, the Alterian ambassador said sharply. They are not evacuating, they are preparing. The speaker frowned. For what? No one had an answer. Then a new report arrived. A Varan probe, sent to observe Earth, had vanished near the edge of the solar system. The last image it sent showed something enormous, something glowing in the darkness. And then the feed cut to static. The council chamber fell silent. The speaker turned toward the others, voice uneasy. Find out what they are building. But deep down, every being in that room already knew the truth they didn't want to admit. Humanity was not going quietly. Back on the secret station, Commander Susan Brooks walked along a metal bridge overlooking Project Genesis. Engineers and workers saluted as she passed. Paul stood beside her, eyes wide at the massive structure below. It's beautiful, he whispered. But what is it really for? Susan smiled faintly. For everything they said we could never have. Our own path. Our own stars. Our own power. He looked at her, uneasy. And if they find out? Her eyes hardened. Then they'll finally understand what exile really means. She turned toward the viewport, where the ring pulsed brighter and brighter. Tell the crews to prepare the first activation test. Yes, Commander. And Paul, she added softly without looking back. From now on, not a single human word leaves this system. The galaxy doesn't need to know what we're doing. Not yet. Far away, alien watchers stared at their silent screens. Human channels went dark. Their ships no longer answered. Their signals stopped. To the galaxy, it looked like humanity had gone quiet. But in truth, they were only holding their breath. And in the cold dark beyond the stars, something was waking up. 6 weeks had passed since the Galactic Council declared Earth's exile. To the rest of the galaxy, it seemed humanity had vanished into silence. Their colonies were empty. Their cities stood like hollow shells under alien suns. And their communication channels, once filled with human noise and laughter, were now quiet. At first, the council was pleased. The human problem, as they called it, appeared to have solved itself. But soon, silence turned into unease. In the shining halls of the Galactic Council chamber, the Alterian ambassador's voice echoed sharply. Entire human colonies are gone. Every settlement, every ship, every outpost. Not destroyed, just gone. The speaker, that vast being of light and energy, flickered uncertainly. Gone? How can an entire species simply vanish? Because they planned it, the ambassador hissed. You all saw how calm they were at the trial. You saw their commander. She accepted exile without hesitation. That was not surrender. That was strategy. The council chamber filled with anxious murmurs. Aliens of every shape and kind whispered in low tones. They are hiding. They are building something. They are waiting. Finally, the speaker raised a glowing limb. Enough. Send observation probes to every former human world. We will know what they are doing. The probes were launched that very day. Thousands of them, each one scanning a different star system once home to humans. But the results only deepened the mystery. The colonies were empty, yes, but not destroyed. Everything was neat, organized. Equipment stored. Power systems shut down properly. Even the houses were clean, as if their owners had simply stepped out. On the agricultural world of New Horizon, fields of grain still swayed in the wind, but no one tended them. On Mars, the domed cities were dark, but every airlock was sealed tight. On the Luna base, the words, "We will return," were carved into the rock, written in plain English letters. The council didn't know what to make of it. They didn't flee in chaos, the Alterian ambassador said. They left together. All of them. But where? Asked the insectoid representative from Zapra. Our long-range sensors see nothing beyond their system. The speaker's light dimmed slightly. Then we are missing something. Far beyond their sensors, beyond the mapped edge of the galaxy, something vast and secret moved. In a region of space no species had dared to explore, humanity was building its future. The massive Project Genesis ring, a glowing circle of dark metal and blue energy, now pulsed with life. Inside its center, light twisted, folding space like fabric. Ships drifted around it, hundreds, then thousands, forming a growing fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each vessel bore a single symbol, the silver outline of Earth surrounded by 13 stars. Commander Susan Brooks stood on the command deck of the flagship Resolute, watching the stars bend and warp outside. Lieutenant Paul Harrison approached. His face was pale, his voice tense. "Commander, the Council probes are sweeping the inner systems. They're getting too close." Susan didn't turn. Her eyes were locked on the glowing gate ahead. "They won't find anything," she said calmly. "By the time they realize what we've done, we'll already be gone." Paul hesitated. "Gone where?" She looked at him finally, her gaze steady and cold. "Not gone, Lieutenant. Evolved." On the other side of the galaxy, Council observers were growing desperate. Every day new reports arrived, empty planets, silent systems, and missing ships. The Council began to argue among themselves. The crystalline Altarians wanted to send fleets to Earth, to investigate directly. The Zaprans demanded military control of the solar sector. The Verteran plant creatures urged patience. "Humans are emotional," they said. "Perhaps they have given up." But then something happened that silenced the room. A probe near the edge of human territory picked up a signal. A single pulse, faint but unmistakable. It was a human distress beacon, old military code. A Council reconnaissance ship was sent to investigate. What they found never made it back. The ship approached the source of the signal, an abandoned mining station drifting near the Oort cloud. Everything looked quiet. Too quiet. The commander of the alien ship, a scaled being from the Serati Dominion, ordered a scan. No life signs. No energy readings. Just the faint signal repeating endlessly. "Retrieve the beacon," the commander ordered. A drone launched from the ship and approached the station. The doors were open. Inside was darkness. The drone floated through the empty corridors, lights flashing across the walls. Old human symbols, faded and cracked, covered the panels. And then the drone found the beacon. It was a small metal device half buried under dust. It was still running. The drone scanned it, and in that instant the beacon lit up. A blue light filled the corridor. The signal changed. One word flashed on the drone's display. "Watching." The feed cut off. The alien crew stared at the screens, horrified. Then the mining station's engines, long thought dead, flared to life. Before anyone could react, the entire structure detonated. The explosion ripped through space, vaporizing the reconnaissance ship in a single blinding flash. The Council never recovered the wreckage. But their sensors recorded one strange thing before the feed vanished. A fleet of human ships, uncloaking for only a heartbeat, before disappearing again. Back aboard the Resolute, Susan watched the explosion from her command window. A soft smile touched her lips. "Did they take the bait?" she asked quietly. Paul nodded. "Yes, Commander." The signal was received and the probe destroyed. "Good," she said. "Then they'll know we're still here. They'll start to fear the dark again." Paul looked uneasy. "We've always been explorers, builders. Not this. Are we becoming what they feared?" Susan's gaze remained fixed on the glowing gate outside. "No, Paul," she said softly. "We're becoming what they forced us to be." The Galactic Council met again in emergency session. The chamber buzzed with panic. "They've attacked our vessel," one shouted. "No proof," another argued. "Their technology is advancing faster than before exile." "Impossible." The speaker flickered with unease. "Enough. Humanity was given exile, not war. They should not have the resources for this." The Alterian ambassador stood, voice trembling. "They shouldn't, but they do. They've gone somewhere beyond our reach. And whatever they're doing out there, it's changing them." The speaker's lights dimmed. "Prepare defenses around the inner systems. Activate all border fleets. If they are planning something, we must be ready." But deep down they all knew the truth. It was already too late. Back in the dark frontier beyond the galaxy, the Project Genesis gate came alive. Energy flared. The massive ring began to spin faster and faster. Inside, a storm of light twisted, folding space and time. A new path opened, a wormhole leading into the unknown. The human fleet stood ready. Thousands of ships, silent and waiting. Susan's voice rang through the command decks. "This is Commander Brooks to all vessels. Today we leave behind the chains of the old galaxy. We are not the exiled. We are the founders of a new one." The fleet engines ignited, their light merging with the storm ahead. As the ships entered the glowing gate, space rippled. The signal vanished. And just like that, humanity disappeared. It had been one full standard cycle since humanity vanished. 6 months. The Galactic Council believed the humans were gone for good. Their jump gates had been sealed. Their colonies were quiet. Their signals were silent. The galaxy at last seemed peaceful again. But peace, as always, was only the space between storms. In the high chamber of the Galactic Council, the Speaker of Light addressed the gathered ambassadors. "Let it be recorded," it said, its tentacles moving in slow patterns, "that humanity's exile is complete. The jump gates to Earth have been permanently sealed. The species known as Homo sapiens has been removed from galactic society." Applause filled the chamber, a strange mix of relief and pride. The Altarian ambassador, a crystalline figure that sparkled blue under the chamber lights, stood and bowed slightly. "The galaxy is safer today," it said. "No more expansion. No more chaos." The speaker nodded. "Let the stars be quiet once again." But even as it spoke those words, a silent pulse rippled through the chamber's communication network. Invisible. Unnoticed. A single signal that jumped across space faster than any known transmission. And far, far away, something old and powerful answered. 3 days later, the first incident occurred. A remote listening post on the edge of Zapran space detected a strange anomaly, a distortion in the vacuum itself. At first, they thought it was an asteroid collision or a solar flare. But then the readings stabilized into a rhythmic pattern. One of the insectoid technicians hissed to his supervisor, "It's repeating. It's a code." The supervisor leaned closer to the monitor. The pattern was unmistakable. 3 short pulses. 3 long. 3 short again. A human distress signal. "How?" the technician whispered. "Their systems are sealed. Their gates destroyed." The supervisor's voice trembled. "Report it to the council. Immediately." But before they could send the transmission, the entire station flickered and went dark. No explosion. No trace. Just silence. The last image captured by the station's cameras was a massive silhouette emerging from the distortion. A ship made of dark metal, glowing faint blue along its edges. A ship flying without an engine trail. Within days, reports flooded the council. Communication blackouts. Missing ships. Strange signals repeating across border systems. In one sector, entire fleets disappeared into static. In another, satellites began broadcasting human languages, recordings of old songs, mixed with unknown codes. It was everywhere. And it was spreading fast. The speaker called for an emergency session. The chamber buzzed with fear. "These cannot be humans," shouted a Varan observer. They had no ships left. No resources. The Altarian ambassador stood, its light trembling. "No, they had time. 6 months is long enough for them to build. To plan. To return." The speaker flickered nervously. "You're suggesting this is retaliation?" The ambassador's crystalline form glowed brighter. "No. I'm suggesting it's a demonstration." On the far edge of the galaxy, a fleet of alien vessels patrolled near a forbidden zone, the region where human space once began. Captain Recall, a reptilian commander with scaled armor, watched his sensors carefully. "All systems clear," reported his officer. "No activity detected." Then, without warning, every light on the ship dimmed. "Power fluctuation?" the captain barked. "No, sir, it's external." The void outside the ship twisted. Stars bent. A wave of blue light swept across their hulls. And from the darkness they appeared. 3 massive ships, angular, silent, dark as night. No heat signatures. No known design. One of the alien officers gasped. "Those markings, are those human?" Across the lead ship's hull, a faint emblem glowed, a silver outline of Earth surrounded by 13 stars. The captain froze. "Impossible." Then a transmission cut through the static. A calm female voice. "Cold, clear human. This is Commander Susan Brooks of Earth. To the Galactic Council's patrol fleet, you are trespassing in restricted space. The bridge crew stared in horror. Return to your territory immediately. You are not authorized to be here. The captain stammered, We are enforcing council law. Humanity has been exiled. There was a pause. Then the human voice replied, Exile? You misunderstand. We accepted your exile. But we never accepted your authority. Before anyone could respond, the human ships vanished, simply blinked out of existence. And seconds later, every alien ship's systems failed. Their drives went offline, their weapons dead. The entire patrol fleet drifted helplessly through space. A few hours later they were found by rescue vessels, floating, powerless, their crews alive but shaken. Each ship had the same phrase burned into its main console. Do not follow. Panic spread through the galaxy. The council held meetings every day. Fleets were moved. Borders were reinforced. But humanity's presence was like smoke, seen one moment, gone the next. Council satellites recorded strange energy readings near black holes. Entire systems flickered with unnatural light. And then, one day, the impossible happened. A sealed jump gate, one the council had locked and destroyed, reactivated. The readings came from the edge of the Orion sector. A massive wave of energy rippled outward as the gate stabilized. Through it came a signal, faint but clear. A human voice. Old, tired but filled with pride. To the Galactic Council. This is Commander Susan Brooks of the Terran Fleet. We warned you once. You chose fear over friendship. We will not attack you. But we will not hide any longer. The transmission paused. Then another voice, a man's younger, spoke. We have found what you feared. The frontier beyond the galaxy isn't empty. It's alive. And now so are we. Static followed. Then silence. The jump gate shut down. The signal vanished. The speaker of the council whispered, What have they become? Far beyond the known stars, Susan stood aboard the bridge of the Resolute. Before her, the vast structure of Project Genesis pulsed with living light. It was no longer just a gate, it was a creation engine capable of bending matter and space itself. Behind it, a new world glowed, a young planet forming from dust and energy, its oceans swirling under an artificial sun. Lieutenant Paul Harrison stood beside her, watching in awe. It worked, he whispered. We've done it. We've made a world. Susan nodded slowly. We made our own place, our own future. And now they'll know, they never exiled us. They set us free. Paul looked uncertain. Will we contact them again? She smiled faintly. Oh, they'll hear from us soon. But not with words. Back in the Galactic Council's chamber, alarms sounded. Sensor readings flooded in from across the galaxy. Unknown objects were appearing in deep space. Massive structures orbiting empty systems, all radiating the same signature. A human signature. The Altarian ambassador rose to his feet. They're building something, everywhere. The speaker of light pulsed dimly. What is it? Weapons. No, the ambassador whispered. Worlds. They're building worlds. Silence fell across the chamber. For the first time in centuries, every species felt the same thing. Not anger. Not hate. But awe and fear. Because somewhere out there, humanity had returned. Not as conquerors. Not as exiles. But as creators. And across the void, a final message appeared on every council terminal. No transmission source. No origin. Just words glowing bright and simple. You exiled us from your stars. We built our own. Silence filled the Galactic Council chamber. Every ambassador, every observer, every translator was frozen. On the giant holoscreens that covered the curved walls, the message still glowed bright and cold. You exiled us from your stars. We built our own. No one spoke. Even the air seemed afraid to move. The speaker of light dimmed its glowing body to a faint blue. Its tentacles twitched slowly as if unsure how to speak. Are these words real? It finally asked. The Altarian ambassador stood, crystal skin flickering with nervous light. They are human, it said softly. I recognize their signature. The syntax. The code format. It's real. A deep murmur spread through the chamber. They've returned. But from where? What are they building? Can we stop them? The speaker raised a trembling limb. Enough, it commanded. Begin a full investigation. Track every signal. Every appearance. I want to know where humanity hides. But deep down, even the speaker knew, it was already too late. A hidden system. Far beyond the council's reach, past the black void between spiral arms, lay a region of space that didn't exist on any official chart. There, humanity had built something no one could have imagined. A ring of living worlds, orbiting a new sun they had forged from the collapse of an ancient star. They called it the Halo Frontier. Each world shimmered with energy, covered in vast cities powered by something unknown, technology beyond the understanding of even the oldest races. At the center of it all, the command station Resolute hung in orbit, glowing like a star itself. Commander Susan Brooks stood before the viewport, hands behind her back, watching the sun rise over one of the new worlds. Paul Harrison entered quietly, carrying a data pad. "Reports are in," he said. 3 Council probes entered Sector 9. "We intercepted them and sent them back." Susan didn't turn. "Any survivors?" He hesitated. "No, ma'am." "Good," she said softly. "They were warned." Paul looked uneasy. "Do you think they'll understand, Commander? What we've done? Why we left them in silence for so long?" Susan finally turned, her eyes calm but distant. "They exiled us because they feared what we might become," she said. "They thought they could cage humanity with fear." She stepped closer to the viewport. "But fear only makes us evolve faster." Paul nodded slowly. "Still, they're watching us now. The Council won't just sit quietly. They'll come." Susan smiled, not in joy but in certainty. "I know. And when they arrive, they'll see what we've become." Council investigation. Back at the Council's core world, panic had turned to obsession. Entire fleets were sent to track the mysterious signals. Dozens of scientists worked day and night trying to decode the strange human transmissions. They discovered something terrifying. Every message carried fragments of biotechnological code, signals that could interact with organic matter. Human messages weren't just data anymore, they were alive. The Council's chief scientist, a jelly-like being named Dr. Thal, presented the findings. "These aren't just transmissions," Thal said, voice trembling. "Each one carries adaptive nanostructures. They grow. They learn. The messages themselves are evolving." The speaker of light pulsed dimly. "You mean, their technology is biological?" Thal nodded. "Yes. They've merged it. Machines that think, cells that compute. They've reached a level beyond synthesis." The chamber erupted in fear. "That's impossible. No race has ever achieved that. They'll destroy everything." The speaker silenced them. "Or," it said slowly, "they've already surpassed us all." The transmission. Then one night the galaxy stopped. Every communication channel, every satellite, every data stream, went silent. And then a face appeared. Human. It was Susan Brooks. Her calm voice echoed through every frequency in the galaxy. "To the Galactic Council and all who still listen. A year ago you exiled us for being dangerous. For expanding. For reaching too far. You were right." Aliens across thousands of worlds watched, stunned, as her face appeared in their skies. "We were dangerous, not because we sought conquest, but because we refused to stop dreaming. You told us to leave your galaxy. So we left." The image changed. A vast ring of light appeared, the Halo Frontier, with countless human ships orbiting around new worlds. "You thought exile was a punishment. You made it a challenge. And humanity never runs from a challenge." Susan's tone hardened. "Do not follow us. Do not interfere. The frontier belongs to those who dare to build it. You feared our ambition. You should fear our success." The message ended. No threat. No demand. Just silence. But across the galaxy, everyone felt the same chill. Reactions. In the council chamber, chaos broke loose. "They're building an empire. They'll invade us. We must destroy them before they return." The Altarian ambassador rose again, its crystal form flashing sharply. "Fools," it said. "You still don't understand. They don't want to rule us. They don't even need us. They've outgrown us." The speaker turned slowly. "Outgrown?" The Altarian's voice softened. "Yes. They're not fighting for survival anymore. They're creating life itself. They've become what we all feared, gods among mortals." Meanwhile, beyond the frontier. On the Resolute, Susan stood in a garden of glowing plants. The air shimmered softly, filled with gentle humming from the biolights that powered the ship. Paul approached quietly. "Council intercepted your broadcast," he said. "They're afraid. Some want to attack." Susan smiled faintly. "They always react with fear. It's their nature." He looked at her curiously. "And ours?" She turned to him, eyes bright with determination. "Ours is to survive. To adapt. To build." She reached out and touched one of the glowing vines, It pulsed in response like a heartbeat. "This technology isn't ours alone anymore," she said. "It's alive. It learns with us. We're not just human now. We're something new." Paul's eyes widened. "Something beyond human?" Susan nodded. "The council called us dangerous. They were right again." The final revelation. Weeks later, a single ship entered council space. It was small, unarmed, unshielded. The council immediately surrounded it with war fleets. Aboard the ship, a hologram of Susan appeared. "Don't be afraid," she said calmly. "We're not your enemies. But you should know, the universe beyond your galaxy isn't empty. It's full of life. Old, silent, waiting." The speaker leaned forward. "You mean, other civilizations?" Susan's hologram smiled sadly. "Older than any of us. And they've been watching too." The transmission flickered. "Prepare yourselves. The real frontier is coming. And this time, you'll need us." The hologram vanished. And across the stars, a deep vibration rolled, something massive, ancient, awakening in the void. Ending hook. In the dark between galaxies, a gigantic shape moved. A living structure older than any known race. Its surface pulsed with the same blue light now seen in human technology. As if connected. On the Resolute, Susan watched the readings with calm eyes. Paul's voice was tense. "What is that?" She smiled faintly. "Our next challenge." The ship turned slowly toward the dark horizon. "They exiled us," she said softly. "Now they'll beg us to return." The galaxy had grown quiet. Too quiet. It began as a whisper, a low pulse spreading across space, older than every star. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't light. It was a memory, something ancient, stirring in the dark between galaxies. On thousands of worlds, sensors screamed warnings. Waves of radiation moved through space faster than any ship. And hidden in that signal was a pattern, a symbol, a spiral. The same spiral the humans had found on the edge of the void. Scene 1, the Council's panic. In the Galactic Council chamber, alarms echoed. The speaker of light flickered violently. "It's spreading through every system." "What is it?" Dr. Thal, the jelly-like scientist, pulsed in terror. "It's not a transmission. It's alive." The Alterian ambassador slammed a crystal fist on the table. "You see? Humanity tried to warn us." The speaker's voice trembled. "Then what do we do?" From the corner of the room, a new voice spoke, calm, cold, and human. A hologram appeared in the center. "Commander Susan Brooks. You call us exiles. But now you need us. The spiral is coming. And only we've seen it before." Every alien in the room fell silent. Scene 2, humanity's fleet. Far beyond the Council's reach, in the Halo frontier, hundreds of human ships prepared for war. Massive carriers shaped like wings. Frigates pulsing with living light. They were no longer just machines, they were grown from human and synthetic DNA, alive and loyal. Lieutenant Paul Harrison stood on the bridge beside Susan. "All systems ready. The Council has sent a distress request," he reported. Susan nodded slowly. "Prepare the jump." Paul looked uneasy. "Back into their galaxy?" "Yes," she said. "We were exiled from it. But it's still our home." She looked out toward the glowing blue gate. "Let's go bring the fire back." Scene 3, the enemy revealed. The jump gate flared open. Human fleets burst through, into chaos. Planets burned in silence. Moons shattered. Stars dimmed. And in the void beyond the galactic rim they saw it. A creature, no, a structure, larger than entire worlds. Its body twisted like dark metal vines, moving slowly, alive with ancient hunger. The spiral entity. Its energy output was beyond calculation. It absorbed light, time, and space itself. Paul whispered, "It's eating the stars." Susan's eyes narrowed. "Then we feed it something new." Scene 4, the Alliance. For the first time in history, every race of the Galactic Council united. Zapran insectoid fleets, Alterian crystal warships, gas-based energy beings, all gathered beside human vessels. At the center, the speaker of light turned toward Susan's command screen. "Commander Brooks," it said, "what is your plan?" Susan spoke clearly, her voice echoing across the network. "You called us reckless builders. You were right. Now we'll use that recklessness to save you." She pointed at the holographic projection of the spiral. "We can't destroy it, but we can trap it." Paul expanded the map. "We'll build an energy cage, using your fleets to form a circle around it. Our ships will act as the core, drawing its power inward." The speaker hesitated. "That could kill you all." Susan smiled faintly. Then let's make the sacrifice worth remembering. Scene 5, the battle. The skies ignited. Every color of light, every kind of energy weapon fired into the void. The spiral roared, not with sound but with gravity. Ships were torn apart, stretched, dissolved. Human vessels dove into the storm, their hulls glowing bright white. They released energy lattices, living networks that wrapped around the creature like chains of light. Paul shouted over the comms, "Lattice 1 complete. Lattice 2 holding." Susan gripped the rail tightly. "All ships focus on containment. Keep it locked." The spiral thrashed, bending space itself. Time slowed. Light bent backwards. Thousands of ships were lost, alien and human alike. But the cage began to hold. Susan's voice stayed calm. "Activate Genesis Core." At the center of the formation, a massive human construct unfolded, the Project Genesis engine. It pulsed once, then fired a beam of pure creation energy straight into the spiral's heart. The universe went white. Scene 6, the aftermath. When light returned, the creature was gone. In its place hung a quiet sphere, a newborn star. The Genesis engine had transformed the monster into life. Paul stared at the screen. "It worked, we changed it." Susan exhaled slowly. "Every monster is just matter waiting for a purpose." Across the galaxy, cheers erupted. The spiral threat was over. The Council had been saved, by the very species they'd cast out. Scene 7, recognition. Weeks later, in the rebuilt Council chamber, a new seat stood beside the Speaker's throne. The seat bore the emblem of Earth, silver and blue. The Speaker turned toward Susan. "Commander Brooks, the Council offers humanity full membership, not as subjects but as equals." Susan smiled politely. "We accept. But understand this, we will never again ask permission to exist." The chamber erupted in applause. Even the coldest ambassadors bowed. For the first time in history, the galaxy was united, not by fear but by respect. Scene 8, epilogue, the new dawn. On the edge of the new star, a small ship drifted quietly. Paul stood beside Susan on the viewing deck. "So this is it," he said softly. "Peace." Susan watched the glowing horizon. "For now. But peace is just the pause before the next discovery." He smiled. "Do you ever stop building?" She laughed quietly. "Never." They looked out together as the new sun rose, brighter than any before. "We were exiled," Susan whispered, "but exile gave us freedom. We were feared, but fear made us stronger. And now, the stars themselves remember our name." The ship turned, engines glowing. Behind them, the new star pulsed, the light of rebirth. Final hook. In the far distance, beyond every map, something stirred once more, faint, small, curious. A signal. Not human. Not alien. No. Paul glanced at the radar. "Another one?" Susan smiled knowingly. "The universe never sleeps." She turned away from the stars, her voice soft but certain. "Then neither will humanity."